Story 1. Wow, I have nearly 18,000 hours on that game. Caused several education delays. I still play it on occasion. I remember not getting it at launch because I thought I would become addicted. Then I caved in October 2006. And yes, I don't regret it, but I would not do it again. Story 2. Skyrim had me in a chokehold. I would sit down just to do one quest, and suddenly the sun was rising outside. There is nothing like losing whole nights chasing dragons and stealing sweet rolls. Story 3. All joking aside, Diablo 2 still is my go-to game. Honestly, I know it's not healthy. As I've gotten older, at 49, I don't have the time to sit down and learn a new game, controls, story, or characters. I find myself defaulting to games that give dopamine hits with minimal effort. At this point, it's action. Role-playing games and survival games. Diablo 2 is an infinite loot grind, always pursuing that griffin's or demon web. It may drop at any time, so I play constantly to maximize chances. If that demon web drops for the first time in 20 years and it has +1 poison skill bone, then the hunt will continue. It's honestly absurd. There is no entertainment value in survival games other than the slot machine effect. The games mostly use the joystick, rarely buttons. Lots of flashy effects, big numbers, gold, and rapid leveling. They are the most addictive games out there and not in a healthy way. Story 4. World of Warcraft. I logged in so many hours when I was a teenager that I developed near crippling sciatica. Thank goodness for yoga. Story 5. Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 2 back on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. I was addicted. I would party up with friends and eat between matches. We would play until 3 or 4 a.m., then get back online in the morning again. Story 6. The Fable saga was captivating at the time, lasting for hours and hours. It is still my favorite. Story 7. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is the most recent. My main ones overall though are Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk. I love getting lost in large open worlds. Story 8. Gran Turismo 3. When I got the PlayStation 2, the jump in quality of graphics from PlayStation 1 was enormous. Story 9. I started League of Legends in Season 1 during my freshman year of high school. I cared only about getting home and playing League of Legends every hour of the day over and over. If they ever brought back Season 2 or Season 3 with only the items and champions from that time, I would definitely get back into League of Legends. I have not played since Season 8. Story 10. Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, Stardew Valley, Bejeweled. Story 11. Definitely EVE Online for a little while. I met a cool group of people, but eventually, real life happened, and I drifted away from the game. Story 12. Special Operations Command United States Navy Sea, Air, and Land Teams Online. Met a bunch of cool people, made friends, clans, etc. I was skipping school to play it. I would walk out the door and wait for my mother to go to work, only to go back in through my basement bedroom window and play all day. She did not appreciate the phone call from the school wondering where I was. Story 13. Kerbal Space Program. I have approximately 10,000 hours in it. I have not played it in seriously 2 years. I miss it, but I have started it up a couple of times and end up feeling like there is nothing else I can do with it. I wish Kerbal Space Program 2 would not have been discontinued. Story 14. EverQuest. That game was addictive. I would start playing and continue until I fell asleep. If the servers were down, I would be on the various forums centered around EverQuest. I bought gold farming guides and the official Prima strategy guides. Once I figured out how to run EverQuest in a window, something that used to be a bannable offense, I would surf EverQuest message boards between creature spawns. It did not matter if friends or family came over. I was playing EverQuest. I sometimes left work early, arrived late, or called out entirely just to get a few more kills, complete a quest, or do a massive trade skill run. I do not regret it because I made some amazing lifelong friends along the way. However, if I had to do it all over again, I would have invested those 10,000 plus hours into learning a useful skill. Story 15. Might and Magic 6 and Diablo 2 are the worst offenders. Story 16. Sock'em I/Sock'em 2. I spent 80% of my free time in middle school and early high school playing these games. Story 17. Animal Crossing New Horizons was released in 2020. Currently, I am playing Baldur's Gate 3. Story 18. Metal Gear Solid 5 had to achieve a perfect 100% by capturing all the animals successfully. Story 19. Hello, lol. It's all I would think about during high school. Good times. I would actively think about how to improve my strafing map rotation mechanics, how to outplay stronger opponents who had map control, and how I could invent new strategies to avoid dying in hard-to-win gunfights. Story 20. This became my go-to after-school game for years. Story 21. Final Fantasy XIV is the one that really got me and still has me. Story 22. Arena of Valor. I stopped playing it when I was 12. I am 17 years old. Story 23. Diablo 2, Skyrim with modifications and Grim Dawn. Story 24. Counter-Strike, Source. I even lost my job because of it. I was a delivery driver and I drove way too fast just to get home for a pre-collision warning. I lost my license and automatically my job. So I played a lot for a while there. Story 25. Name a Fallout game. Any of them challenged me at one point or another. Story 26. Unreal Tournament and various modifications. I rarely play player versus player shooters anymore since I am too old, slow, and lack the time to improve. Story 27. Ark. Survival Evolved. Way too much time in that game. Story 28. Disney Dreamlight Valley. With the constant downloadable content and new additions to the game, there is always something to do. Plus the addition of the Star Path and various other ongoing quests. It is a fun game. You can easily get lost for a few hours and not realize where the time has gone. Story 29. Twilight Princess, Grand Theft Auto 5, Minecraft, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Elden Ring all consumed me at different points in my life. Story 30. Destiny. I lost 2 years of other gaming because of that game. Story 31. Ultima Online. I grew up playing the Ultima games and was greatly looking forward to Ultima Online. For the first month or so, it was not too bad. There was a learning curve, and regular frustration with it would temper my time spent on it. But then I got good at it, made a bunch of friends, and it became extremely fun and addictive. Then the problem started. Lag, constant balance changes that broke everything, and one day I realized I was spending 18 hours a day with nothing to show for it. I quit cold turkey that day and did not miss it at all. I will never touch another massively multiplayer online role-playing game again. Story 32. Red Dead Redemption Online. I was completely addicted to that game. Story 33. So it's not really a true game, but do you all remember the game Movie Star Planet? You can still play it on mobile and PC. Back in 2013 or 2014, I downloaded the game and was so addicted to it. I played it every day on my dad's computer. In the game, you can make yourself a VIP so you can buy cooler clothes and make your movie star look fabulous. It did cost real money though, so the first times I trusted someone to make me VIP, but they hacked and scammed me. So I made a new avatar and used my dad's, or my mom's credit card to get VIP. My dad was very angry when he found out, and both my parents blocked me from buying anything online again. I was too obsessed with being VIP and the game that one time I think the game was down or something happened, and I was telling myself, how can I go without logging onto Movie Star Planet now? That stressed me out a lot. Over the years, my obsession stopped. I still have the game on my phone, but I'm not playing it anymore. I just can't let go. I made so much progress. Story 34. Surprised no one else has said this yet, but League of Legends. I don't play it anymore, but that game dominated every waking moment of my life in high school. I ended up drowning in shame for not being good enough and only allowed myself to spend free time trying to get better, failing miserably. It got to the point where my parents had to step in and limit the time I could play by forcibly removing my computer's internet privileges. I think my biggest mistake was not really playing with my actual friends who introduced me to the game, so I just played with all the toxic random players the game is infamous for. Story 35. Minecraft is popular for many people. Sometimes I have to take a break and ground myself because I tend to play it nonstop. Story 36. When I was a child, I used to play Roblox a lot, but as time went on, I felt like the content on the platform did not satisfy my need for emotionally deeper content. Story 37. Ancient Art of War is the only one I have ever played. Story 38. First was Palworld. I played it every day for hours for a few months, then I lost all progress. Then it was Ark. Survival Evolved. I played the mobile version years ago, found it on console, and love that game to this day, but I kind of ruined my experience with cheats. Today it's Battle Cats with no cheats and no way to lose progress. I have my account and code saved. I'm kind of losing interest, but I just beat Relic Cyclone and am ready for Relic Bun. I am hyped. Story 39 has to be World of Warcraft. Although it was a non-issue, I lived in the mountains rurally, so I had nothing else to do after college and work. I would just play 4 to 5 hours a night. It was pretty easy to break away from, though. Outside of achievement hunting, all I did was raid. It dawned on me how miserable it was paying a subscription fee to listen to the raid leader basically scream abuse at the team 4 nights a week. After realizing I could not be bothered with that and stopped raiding, I just stopped playing quite quickly. Story 40. Since I do not have time, I play games on my mobile phone when I can. Mobile Legends, Delta Force, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds Mobile. Story 41. Skyrim and Transformers. Devastation because I wanted to get 100% trophies on it. Story 42. One game that stood out, not just because I had COVID, was Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 on the Wii. I played it so much that I became really good at it. Story 43. Baldur's Gate back in the day. I missed an entire semester of college and just smoked hookah, ate watermelon, and played for about 12 hours a day. Afterwards, I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and had the failing grades removed from my transcript. Story 44. For me, it was Warframe. When I built my PC, I had all my parts ready. I was using PC Part Picker, but I did not realize that my dad had seen my parts list and switched my 4 GB graphics card to a very cheap 2 GB graphics card. All of the games I had been planning to play could not even run except for Warframe, so that was all I played. Even when I got a better graphics card, I still played Warframe. Currently, I have logged a little over 2,000 hours in that game. Story 45. Several Metal Gear Solid, Twisted Metal, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas, 4, 5, Never Grand Theft Auto Online, Minecraft, Skyrim, Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4, Cyberpunk 2077, Battlefield 3, 4, this weekend the Battlefield 6 beta, No Man's Sky. Story 46. From teenager to mid-20s, I played Diablo 2, Final Fantasy XI, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, and Path of Exile. Story 47. Team Fortress 2 before Valve decided to go absent without leave on us and leave an infested server of aimbotters. Story 48. Helldivers 2. I played that game all day every day. I lost access to my account on PlayStation recently and I have not played it since. Story 49. Last one was Luma Island. Only downloaded because it was on a Steam sale. It is basically a 10 out of 10 game, but I am glad it is completed. Story 50. Kingdom Hearts has yet to release my soul. I am still waiting for any news on Kingdom Hearts 4, and remain disappointed they canceled the only thing meant to hold us over until Kingdom Hearts 4's release. Story 51. World of Warcraft is probably the most fun game I have ever played. It really bums me out that now that I actually have time to play in a real computer, it is completely pay to win and not worth playing because getting loot does not mean anything. If the number next to your gear is more important than the name of your weapon or helmet, I am not playing that game. Story 52. I don't have time to type them all in, but wow, for sure. I am looking for suggestions for the next one. The last few were Satisfactory and Dyson Sphere Program. Other than Factorio, I am looking for a new game to take over my life. Story 53, World of Tanks. Played for years and had a fair collection of tanks. Sadly, Wargaming took a brilliant game and ruined it by making it pay to win. I now refuse to spend significant amounts on premium ammunition. Story 54. I played Elden Ring when it first came out for a week straight. I completed 140 hours in that week. Story 55. Trying to get 96 stars on Super Mario World took over part of my teenage years. Story 56. Far Cry 5 was the first Far Cry game I ever played. I used to live in Bozeman, Montana, and the next larger town, Livingston, Montana, actually had a cult there, complete with underground bunkers. Not quite as violent as the game, but still. Story 57. Crusader Kings 2 still occupies a significant portion of my time, in a way that Crusader Kings 3 has never been able to surpass. Story 58. EverQuest is impossible to explain at this point. It was such a unique time, place, and technology. No maps, very high difficulty, no quest log. It was magic. Story 59. I have spent most of my playtime on Counter-Strike games, playing from 2004 to 2009 and again from 2013 to 2020. Since 2020, I play occasionally but do not grind. I do not know if it ever took over my life. I played a lot but still went to school and had a job. I love that game and I still love it. There is just something about it. Story 60. When Fallout 3 came out, I was captivated. I remember getting home from work at around 4 p.m. and exploring a few locations. Then I looked at the clock, and it was 9 p.m. I had not eaten or anything, so I said, "One more trip back home, then I will eat." It was now 2 a.m. Story 61. A few baseball stars on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Civilization on the personal computer, Command and Conquer on any platform. Story 62. Black Operations 1 multiplayer had me highly addicted back in the day. Story 63. So many. Final Fantasy VIII, Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare, my absolute favorite game, Rainbow Six Siege, Minecraft, Fortnite when it first came out, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Sea of Thieves. But now I barely play anything. I wish I could, but I am tired, and I have no one to play with, so it gets dull quickly. Story 64. The Division, Assassin's Creed Origins, Call of Duty Black Ops, State of Decay. Story 65. Most recently, I tried Cyberpunk 2077. I could never get past the intro and moved on for a while. Then the version 2.0 update was released, and I gave it another try. The next thing I knew, I was heading to Dogtown instead of Embers. Story 66. Left 4 Dead. I was addicted in college. I would leave my house in the morning as if I was on my way to college, park a few blocks away, and once I saw my mom leave for work, I would drive back home and start playing. I think between Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, I have over 15,000 hours of playtime. Story 67. World of Warcraft. 6 years in a raiding guild nearly cost me my marriage. Lesson learned. Story 68. Valorant and Red Dead Redemption Online. That was during COVID, so I didn't have much of a life anyway. Story 69. I do not know about taking over my life, but Factorio is nicknamed Cractorio for a reason. The factory must grow. Story 70. Not a single game, but my championship football manager addiction started 25 years ago. A few hours ago, I stole away from the family party to squeeze in half an hour. Story 71. Driver. I remember the final level being very difficult and then suddenly, after weeks of trying, it was completed. This was years before online gaming on an original PlayStation, so suddenly I was left without it. Story 72. Anarchy Online. When it first came out, I think I spent 6 years playing it. Story 73. Scrolled for a while, but nobody posted. Lineage 2 from 2005 to 2008 is totally lost from my real life. Story 74. In recent memory, a couple of years ago, I got back into God of War. I played through the last 2 games over my holidays. It was about minus 25 degrees Celsius outside, so for basically 2 weeks, I did that and nothing else. Getting older is tough. I have less time for games, but it was great to just relax for a couple of weeks, play a role-playing game, and not worry about forgetting things because I didn't have to switch to something else or take a break. Story 75. World of Warcraft. I became fully addicted to it when it was released. I still play it now, but only about 2 hours a day at most. Story 76. For me, it was Football Manager. I would stay up playing until I fell asleep, run home from school, and play it again for 4 years. Story 77, Overwatch. I do not know why. I did not even main any fun characters. I was a Zenyatta main, one of the most basic characters you can main. Story 78, Elden Ring. To the point where I now no longer refer to dates as before Christ or Anno Domini, but instead as before Elden Ring and after Elden Ring. Story 79. I've played StarCraft, Brood War for the better part of 15 years, so there's that. I got my first job at Boeing by talking about my life for hire. Path of Exile is becoming popular too. Story 80. Safe to say. As a child, Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on Game Boy Color. As a teenager, Counter-Strike on personal computer and Madden National Football League on PlayStation. As an adult, Call of Duty. Story 81. Probably whatever game was popular when you were 15 to 18. For me, that was Counter-Strike 1.6 and StarCraft. Story 82. World of Warcraft for several years, bought on release and barely played anything else during that time. Story 83. Destiny, when it was first released, wasted a year of my life. Story 84. Probably beginner numbers, but I put in about 5 full 100+ hour playthroughs of Baldur's Gate 3 to get the Platinum and Honor Mode trophies. Story 85. Overwatch. I would play it day and night and nothing else. The game started to drive me insane, so I took a break. I quit for good after realizing that I preferred Team Fortress 2. I do not play Team Fortress 2 or any other multiplayer game anymore. Story 86. RimWorld last winter, Arma 2 DayZ during early college, Grand Theft Auto 5 late college, and RimWorld will probably take over my life again in the winter. Story 87. Elden Ring took 2 years of my life. I watched all the lore videos and explored every area. I refused to beat the final boss because that would mean it is permanently over, and that makes me sad. So, my main character is just resting in my saved games. Story 88. Minecraft. I was addicted to it on my iPad. Technically, that means I was addicted to the game application, so it may not qualify as a video game. Story 89. Team Fortress 2 during my teenage years and recently Genshin Impact. Things happened, and I am rarely playing now compared to before. Be careful, everyone. I am pretty sure I am only now realizing this. Story 90. Lineage 2 was played at launch and for a couple of years. Player versus player was incredible, but you lost about 12 hours of experience grind in one death. Psy on Deviant server. Rock Band has over 2,000 songs. I got decent in full band, full combo teams. Now I am a dad. I got to play the Battlefield 6 beta for 1 hour before I fell asleep on the sofa. Story 91. Warframe, Minecraft, and Final Fantasy XIV are all guilty of this in my life. Story 92. Red Dead Redemption 2. Played it exclusively for a little over a year, for about 6 hours each day. Story 93. Doom, Duke Nukem, Heretic and Hexen, Descent, Defender, Joust, to name a few. Story 94. Warcraft 2 and StarCraft. The map and campaign editors were the start of my sleeping problems. Story 95. The Sierra games in the late 1980s, such as King's Quest and Police Quest, were all mapped out on graph paper. Story 96. Easily wow. It means something when you start measuring your playtime in years instead of hours. Story 97. The Division early days. Version 1.3 when the Dark Zone was very challenging. Grinding the Dark Zone, hiding from hostile players and gangs. It was special at that time. Story 98. All this talk of massively multiplayer online games is why I will never play one. I need my games to end. Story 99. Dark Age of Camelot had me in a grip I have never known since. I was calling in sick, planning vacations around raids, running 2 computers side by side with a tank and healer by myself. I had multiple accounts with Mastercraft status. Story 100. I had about 3,000 hours on Deep Rock Galactic. Just one more dive. Story 101. Call of Duty 4. Every day, all day. No need to remove the disc from the tray. Story 102. Nine Dragons was highly anticipated when it was released. There was so much grinding that when I finally played World of Warcraft, it felt really easy to reach the maximum level. Massively multiplayer online games can be dangerous. Story 103, Factorio and RimWorld. I was really into both games, especially since there are lots of modifications to enhance your gaming experience. I even uninstalled both games to make sure I would never get locked into them again. Story 104, Civilization, World of Warcraft, The Last of Us Part 2, and Counter-Strike at different times in my life, but the original time sponge was the original Final Fantasy VII. I was late to work a few times over that game. Story 105, Castle Crashers. I spent it on vacation about 5 to 7 times with a cousin. Story 106. I have been gaming since the 1990s. These are the games I spent a lot of time on. SOCOM 1 and 2, World of Warcraft, SOCOM Confrontation, Star Wars, The Old Republic, Destiny, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Elden Ring. Story 107. Escape from Tarkov. I have about 3,300 hours, and I am still unwilling to bring in high-end gear because I do not want whoever loots me to have the pleasure of obtaining high-value loot. Story 108. Iron Order 1919. One day, I played that game for 22 hours continuously. I did not even sleep that day. The game was very addictive, so the next day I uninstalled it. Story 109. Reminds me of the scene from Half-Baked where he goes in front of the rehabilitation group to admit his weed addiction. I was addicted to EverQuest. Did you ever play Skyrim? Story 110, Halo 3. I would play before school and after school. I tried to get 50 kills in every playlist. I played on a local area network with my friends on the weekends. Fun times. Story 111. Anno 1800. A friend of mine gifted me all the downloadable content during the summer sales. I waited 2 weeks before we played, but after that, I have not played a single other game besides some Baldur's Gate 3. The game is just so good, you can keep optimizing and growing. Story 112. Baldur's Gate 3, Stardew Valley, Red Dead Redemption 2, Destiny 1 and 2, and right now the Battlefield 6 beta until the end of the day when I cannot play it anymore. Story 113. Diablo 2. Between the initial release and the expansion a couple of years later, it basically defined my high school years. Story 114. In the summer of 2004, I was 15 and did nothing but play SOCOM 2 online on PlayStation 2 from the time I woke up in the evening until I went to bed the following morning. Story 115. Grand Theft Auto 5 Online and Fortnite. In Chapter 1, Grand Theft Auto had its hold on me through 2017 and 2018. Story 116. I guess I would pick Morrowind. First playing it, then modding it, then writing modding tutorials and reference materials and posting in the mod forums while modding. And continuing to play it, of course. I played NetHack probably longer than anything else though, from the mid-1980s to mid-1990s and sporadically after that. Right now, No Man's Sky is the one I have always come back to for over 10 years. Infinite universe and frequent content updates. For massively multiplayer online games, The Elder Scrolls Online for 8 solid years. I had a World of Warcraft phase, but all the guild drama and related stress turned me off after a while. I am still in touch with friends I made there though. It was significant. Story 117. Animal Crossing, New Horizons. Maybe because it was the only thing to do while locked at home during coronavirus disease. Story 118. I do not know if I am lucky or unlucky that most of the top responses are games I tried, found uninteresting, and never played again. I guess lucky. Wow, RuneScape, Skyrim, Civilization, all games I heard were addicting. I tried them, thought I did not get it, and stopped playing. Story 119. There have been 4 times in my life when I played a game for multiple days straight, taking only breaks for eating, short sleep, and using the bathroom. They are World of Warcraft, Mass Effect XCOM 1, and XCOM 2. Story 120. Halo during elementary school. Skyrim during middle and high school. Fortnite captured my attention when I was in college in 2017. Over the summer, I focused on work, exercise, and playing Fortnite. Story 121. Madden 1996. Nintendo 64. I spent a good portion of middle school summer playing multiple career modes with my friends. Story 122. Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oblivion, Skyrim, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Fallout 4, Bard's Tale, Chrono Trigger, Baldur's Gate 2, Fable 1, 2, and 3, Age of Empires 2. Story 123. I played the original Destiny for a month or two. It even made me temporarily give up smoking because I did not want to leave the game to go outside. Story 124. World of Warcraft Classic. Played around 10 to 15 hours daily during the coronavirus pandemic. It was glorious though. I have never been as social as during those couple of years. So many guild members, friends, pickup groups, role players, and strangers. I truly miss the Zandalari tribe. Story 125. Specifically, Uncharted 3 multiplayer. I miss it every day. Story 126. No single game, just gaming in general, has claimed a lot of my life. I would like to have it and my health back. I swear my health declined as badly as if I had been chain smoking. All the terrible snacks and lack of sleep took a toll. Story 127. I have spent thousands of hours on Terraria, and I still have not beaten the Moon Lord without help. I built some cool things though. Story 128. Team Fortress 2. The wife suggested I buy a new computer because I played it so much. Story 129. Not sure if you are familiar with 5BN's games like Lost Lands 1 to 10. It is not really a video game, but the storyline is amazing with mini-games and puzzles that will test your logic. It completely took me to the point where I filed a week of sick leave just to finish the game. Story 130. Watch Dogs 2014. Cruise biking and relaxing with Central Operating System Chicago. Story 131. I was living and breathing World of Warcraft from when I first played in 2008, during a time of extended unemployment benefits until I finally stopped around 2010. I remember at the time thinking I would never have time for any other games, and that was fine. Story 132. This is not uncommon for me. I seek out games that require deep thought and significant time commitment. Discovering War on the Sea was a whole new level. It felt as if someone sat me down at the head of a game design studio and said, "Tell them what you want." It even brought back the occasional full-on rage quit, which was disturbing to experience as a grown man. Story 133. Tetris. I would stop playing for hours. Then I would still imagine bricks coming down. My mind was always trying to figure out the best way to place them. Story 134. Call of Duty 4. Modern Warfare was the first online game I ever played. Story 135. Breath of the Wild. A month or two after its release, I got sick and had to stay in bed for almost a month. If I was not sleeping, I was playing. It was my life for that month. I caught myself thinking about what I was going to do tomorrow as if I were Link. I realized at that point how unhealthy that was and decided to read some books instead. Story 136. Ark Survival. I joined a server, then joined a tribe, and I was hooked. I spent many hours on the server breeding and selling wyverns, defending our base, fighting other tribes, and gearing up for boss battles. I started in a straw hut, and by the end, I was flying around space in a suit hunting space whales. It was so fun. Story 137. Battlefield 2 and 3, I can't decide. Those were good times. Being an adult is nice, but nothing compares to playing games all day with no worries aside from school grades. Story 138. RuneScape around 2006 to 2007, when my parents finally got me a membership. Story 139. Rust. Surprised no one said this already, but then realized every Rust player is busy playing the game. Story 140. Crash Bandicoot. The original on PlayStation. Yes, I am old. Story 141. Star Wars. The Old Republic. As a teenager, I would play it from evening until 7 a.m. almost every day all summer. I usually grabbed Skittles, Mountain Dew Voltage, and some marijuana. That is how I spent my summer one year. I did enjoy it, though. Story 142. World of Warcraft has been played from 2005 to the present, with breaks in between. It is not nearly as bad now as it was before. I failed every class one semester because I would sit in class with my laptop and even read the forums during server maintenance. I would wait around all day for a class, then decide I would rather keep playing World of Warcraft instead. I had a problem. I am now able to game responsibly. Halo 3 was released during my first semester of college, which did not help. Story 143. I played Guitar Hero so much one summer that I saw the flashing symbols even when I was not playing. I took a little break then. Story 144. Baldur's Gate 3. 2 years in and still counting. Haven't finished a single playthrough. Story 145. Football Manager tracks your time by days if you play long enough in a save. Story 146. When Knights of the Republic came out, I replayed it 13 times that same year. Story 147. League of Legends. I was skipping class in college to play. It was not good. Story 148. Pitfall. Missile Command. Super Mario World. Donkey Kong Country. StarCraft. Command and Conquer Red Alert. Oblivion. Rise of Nations. Skyrim. Gran Turismo 4 and 5. The Witcher 3. Animal Crossing. Story 149. Halo 1 and 2. I went to the midnight release of Halo 2 and skipped school for a week after that. Story 150. Destiny. Played every day for long hours between 2014 and 2019 until I went to college. From early in the morning to late at night, with a few all-nighters interspersed. Only stopped recently before the newest expansion released. Story 151. Path of Exile. A few years ago, my wife suggested we try it out together. Now I am 4,000 hours in and still feel clueless about the game at times. Story 152. Fable 2. I would play for days and nights. Story 153. Red Dead Redemption 2. I played that game and only that game for a week. It is the greatest video game ever made, in my opinion. Story 154. Final Fantasy XIV. I spent about 12 years on the game, my entire 20s basically. Now that I have quit, my social life is coming back. It is wild to look back and realize how much I let that game control my life. Story 155. MO Online. Glad I experienced it early, so I know I just don't play that kind of games. Story 156. I've been playing League of Legends since I was 13. I am 28 years old and still playing. Story 157. People probably will not remember this, but for me, it was Formula 1 Grand Prix from Microprose on the Commodore Amiga. I played that for hours and hours. Story 158. Batman Arkham, the entire series. I am a mother and played it with my son when he was around 4 or 5 years old. He is a teenager now and still fondly remembers the days when we stayed home and played these games nonstop. Story 159. San Andreas Multiplayer. It is not the game itself, but the most interesting people it gives you the opportunity to meet. I found my best friends in it, and we have been communicating for about 5 years. Story 160. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the original. If I was not playing it, I was either watching machinima commentaries on it or thinking about it. I absolutely loved that time and era of gaming and YouTube. Story 161. I installed the game called Bit Heroes in 2016. Every now and then, I open the game and become transfixed for about 3 weeks until I burn out and do not open the game for another month or two. Story 162. I remember Civilization 4 had me in a serious one more turn hold in my 20s. I would fall asleep at my personal computer regularly playing all night. Story 163. Tomb Raider 2 on PlayStation 1. Played almost every night for about 2 months. Amazing experience at the time. Story 164. As much as I hate to admit it, Call of Duty was a major part of my life. Back when Modern Warfare 3 released in 2011, was the most recent game in the series, I would spend nearly the entire day playing. I only stopped to use the bathroom or eat. The sad part is that I was miserable 90% of the time I played. I broke several controllers out of rage and spent a lot of time shouting at other players for camping or using overpowered weapons. It was an absolutely miserable experience. Story 165. Mount and Blade Warband. I even dreamed about it for a week straight. Story 166. RuneScape 3, Warframe, Destiny 2. You see the pattern. I am very reluctant to get into those types of games again because they take up a lot of my time and can become a problem. We spent 3,000 to 5,000 hours each over a couple of years. I did not play any of them at the same time. Story 167, Guns. The Duel. I have been playing for nearly 20 years, and with the re-release on Steam coming soon, I am sure I will continue playing until arthritis makes me incapable. Story 168, Red Dead Redemption 2. I have spent an embarrassing amount of time playing that game. To be exact, it is 43 days, 16 hours, and 22 minutes. I am at 99% completion but lost interest. I have one challenge and one grave left. I have not touched it in 2 years because of Stardew Valley. Story 169, Halo 3. My brother, my nephews, a group of friends, and I played this game so much that we actually broke several Xbox 360 consoles because of it. I still remember a 24-hour run of multiplayer trying to achieve a perfection, which never happened. Then, on a random evening about a week later, I got it. I was alone and quietly said, "Yay!" to myself. Story 170. Prime Fortnite from 2017 to 2019 had middle school me in a chokehold. School, home, Fortnite, and sleep was the typical schedule. Story 171. Resident Evil 4 Remake. I finished it about 6 or 7 times in the span of a month and a half. I am currently trying to platinum it. I doubt it, but at least I am trying to get as many trophies as I can. Story 172. World of Warcraft. Football Manager. Grand Theft Auto 3. Crusader Kings 3. Satisfactory. Story 173. Definitely World of Warcraft for me. I never played it back in the day, but my friends convinced me to get World of Warcraft Classic when it came out during the COVID pandemic, and that's pretty much all I did for the next few years. Story 174, World of Warcraft, being level 26 and needing to keep killing some boars at 2:45 a.m., did not compare to any other game for me. Story 175, Fallout 4. There was a period of years when it was the only game I played. I accumulated about 7,000 hours in it quite quickly. Story 176. Certainly aging myself here, but for me it was the original Team Fortress between Dark Age of Camelot and EverQuest. I never got into World of Warcraft because I knew it would absorb me completely and not let go. It sure sounds like I was right. Story 177. Mass Effect Trilogy. Dragon Age Saga, mostly Inquisition, trying to achieve 100% exploration and completion. Loved my Inquisitor and his lover Dorian. Conquer Online, also known as Conquista Online 2.0. I played it for years when it was popular. Nowadays it is obsolete. The same applies to Dofus. It was very addictive with many players back then. Now it has almost no players. The same for Ragnarok Online. There were so many classes. Also Golden Sun and Fire Emblem, mostly Sacred Stones. I return to playing them from time to time. They remind me of my childhood. The support system truly makes you want to play again and again. Cormag, Sala, and Innis. Story 178. Minecraft, Skyrim, Grand Theft Auto 5, Caesar 3, and Roller Coaster Tycoon were favorites during childhood. Nowadays, it is Satisfactory. However, none of these games surpass the hours spent playing Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Crystal as a child. Story 179. Subnautica. Not the longest game, but I played for a week straight and barely slept or ate. That game completely captivated me in front of the PC. Story 180. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas consumed my life for quite a while. Amazing games, truly one of a kind. Story 181. Scum had me hooked for years, and then they changed the way non-player characters spawn. Thousands of hours down the drain. It was literally the only game I played daily for 3 years straight. Story 182. World of Warcraft. The Burning Crusade and Mists of Pandaria. Story 183. Siege, Kingdom Come, Deliverance, and Red Dead Redemption 2 all took a lot of my time. Only Siege felt like a waste. Story 184. World of Warcraft. Granted, it was high school summer break. Story 185. Lineage 2, later League of Legends, later Ark Survival Evolved, currently nothing. but I miss getting hooked for 100 hours or so. Story 186. Foxhole started out as a cool, persistent World War II game that looked pretty neat. A year later, I found myself playing for hours at a time, commanding 35 people to complete a Soviet-style tank surround on a fictional town. I was screaming to motivate waves of people to grind themselves into the enemy to expend their supplies. Story 187. GTA Vice City. It was my introduction to Grand Theft Auto. I had never played a game anything like it. The graphics were amazing at that time, and the gameplay was brilliant with many perks and side stories. Story 188, Golden Sun and its sequel Golden Sun, The Lost Age. Story 189, World of Tanks used to play upwards of 15 to 18 hours a day for years. I did the math, and across my various accounts, I have something like 55,000 hours in game on the low end. I now only play it maybe once a month. Story 190, definitely Skyrim. I was very fortunate to get the game a couple of weeks early as I was reviewing it for some of the media outlets I work for, and it completely dominated my life. I don't even know for how long. My wife would joke she became a Skyrim widow, and it was like that until Fallout 4 came out and took over my life. Fortunately, it was a very good stress reliever and really got me into a different type of game than what I was used to playing. Story 191. Arc, like 11,000 hours or more, is easy. It was quiet or a breakup at one point. Story 192. Breath of the Wild was my first. It helped me through a divorce. Then came Skyrim, Tears of the Kingdom, and now Cult of the Lamb. I have come late to all of these, but I am so lucky to be alive when they all exist. Story 193. Mario 3. Could not get enough of those charming little Italians. Story 194. Both Garry's Mod and Team Fortress 2 were the only two games my PC ran back in the 2010s. So, for 1,000 hours in total there. A lot of my junior high school years were spent on them. Story 195. EVE Online. Played for 15 years since 2005. Still have all my items. Story 196. WoW, then Destiny 2, and then Outer Wilds. I played it non-stop until I finished, and then spent a few weeks watching other people's playthroughs. Then I had a nervous breakdown and finally got over it. Story 197. Stardew Valley, Balatro, No Man's Sky, Project Zomboid to name a few. Story 198. Should I go chronologically? I am pretty sure I could go back to around 1997 if I really think about it. Story 199. I got Lego Island for Christmas in 1997, and that was basically what I did for the next year. Brick by brick, tick by tick. No matter how thin, no matter how thick. Papa told Mama and Laura told Nick, you can move a mountain if you do it brick by brick. Story 200. Marvel Rivals currently has me in a chokehold. I finally took a step back today because I feel like I have been wasting my days playing it, and I need to put it down for a little bit. Story 201. The original Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I played for over 30 days in the first year after launch. Femel. Story 202. Bad Piggies was enjoyable until the advertisements, microtransactions, and pay-to-win levels completely ruined the experience. Story 203. I played way too much Knights of the Old Republic, the massively multiplayer online game, when it first came out. I rated hard. I remember being a terrible roommate, staying up very late, and it affected my ability to be at work. I made all sorts of mistakes and broke equipment because I was not in a good state and overtired. Story 204. Zelda Ocarina of Time as a child of 12, Morrowind and Gothic as a teenager, Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 as a young adult, Skyrim and The Witcher 3 in my mid-20s. Currently, in my early 30s, Project Zomboid captivates me. Story 205. Star Wars Battlefront 2015 and Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017. I played those games way too much in high school, but they were so much fun I just couldn't stop. Story 206. Frogger. Now if you will excuse me, I am going to schedule my colonoscopy. Story 207. Morrowind. Not because of the graphics or combat, but because it treated me like an adult who could read directions. No quest markers, no global positioning system. Just head northeast past the big rock that looks like a mud crab until you see the Dwemer. Ruins, then go left at the dead tree. I spent hours just wandering around with a journal entry trying to figure out where I was supposed to go. Somehow that made finding the place feel like a real accomplishment, not just following a glowing dot on a minimap. Story 208. Hunt Showdown 1896 is incredibly addictive once you get into it. You can feel yourself improving daily and weekly as you play more. The skill ceiling is one of the highest in any game I have played. It is almost like a game of chess when you play. Story 209 Doom. I played cooperative deathmatch and other modes. Then I learned how to build arenas and began to design my own where's all the data files. I had several of them published in shareware collections. Everything I looked at was being designed in my mind for about 3 years. Story 210. Lots of the Lord of the Rings Online. I played for 7 years, starting just after beta. I had 14 different characters of various classes. I still miss it. Story 211. Stardew Valley. I could not stop building my wine empire. Story 212. Skyrim and Defense of the Ancients 2 are two of the games I have been addicted to. Story 213. Breath of the Wild. I was not online for about a month. Story 214. Umamusum. My phone screen time jumped to an unholy level. Story 215. I'm going way back. Before we had children, my wife went out of town with her former college roommates. My only task was to buy a DVD player. A colleague at work told me the best option was a PlayStation 3 since it would play DVDs and you could play games. I was not much of a gamer. I played as a kid. I had ColecoVision, Atari 2600, Atari 5200, and Intellivision, but I never thought adults at about age 30 still played these games. Well, I bought the PlayStation 3 along with a few games, and the one that stood out was Grand Theft Auto. I abandoned all social plans that weekend and played it intensely. I remember getting in my car to run an errand, feeling as if my brain was scrambled, wanting to swerve, crash into cars, and hit pedestrians. I have never quite had that feeling before or since. This was more than 22 years ago, if my math is correct. Story 216. Not a video game per se, but a multi-user dungeon that I played from 1994 to present. I still stop in once in a while. Story 217. Football Manager. I am a numbers person, and it has a lot of numbers. I would play season after season, sometimes not stopping for days at a time. The same happened long ago with college football. I would eventually get bored, take over the smallest school in the country, then make them national champion multiple times in a row. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.